All right, so today we are here with one of the most successful Gen Z entrepreneurs I have ever come across, Nastassia. So Nastassia is the 21-year-old founder of Corecircle, a growing social fitness app that just launched in the App Store. And she's also the founder of Nasty Fit, a fitness apparel brand that she built at 18 years old. So you're running two things at once.
Yes, sort of. Yes,
How's that
sort
going? Is
of.
that not exhausting?
No, it's going well. So Nasty Fit is a pretty, so it's a fitness apparel brand, like we mentioned, that I started when I was 18 years old, and so now we've been in business for about almost 3 years, if not 3 years, and it's pretty self-sustainable. Like we have a team that helps us in the back end, and everything like that. Like it doesn't take that much to actually run Nasty Fit. And these next couple of months, we're just like taking it easy, honestly, because my main focus is Corecircle and growing that. Like I feel like Nasty Fit was one chapter of my life, and then Corecircle is like this next big thing that I am absolutely in love with, and I want to grow and scale into a huge company. So that's my goal. And yeah, I balance both things well. I mean, I'm lucky that I, dropped out of college, so I don't have that type of responsibility. So it's literally just like startup life full time, more than full time. It's just life. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I genuinely really love what I do.
No, I love it. I know throughout the meetings that I've had with Gen Z entrepreneurs, there's like this common theme of I don't separate work or life or compartmentalize like that. It's all kind of just the same thing.
Yeah, there's no point to like the only time where that's needed is when you aren't like fulfilled in what you currently do. But like don't get me wrong, I mean there are moments where I'm like, well, I need to just, take a walk or do something human or like human like to break myself from like that cycle of work. But honestly, yeah, if you genuinely like love what you do, and fitness has been a part of my life for so long, it's great. It works really well.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, your history shows that you've always done what you love to do and you've been building some incredible things. So I want to
mhm,
start with Nasty Fit, which you started when you were 18.
right.
And I, I knew what entrepreneurship was at 18, but there was like no way I was going to start a company or a business. So I want to ask
Mhm,
you two things. First is what inspired you at 18 to start Nasty Fit? What was like the greater theme
mhm.
or yeah, principles that you were trying to get across? And then second, did you at that age view yourself as an entrepreneur and founder, or did you kind of just view yourself as a leader or a builder?
Well, my journey, so to say, started when I was documenting my own fitness journey on social media. So I built up a following on YouTube and was doing a lot of that at that time. And so when I was 17 years old, this company named Genflow approached me and they were like, "Hey, like, do you want to create some workout guides for us?" Like the commission rate was like amazing. So I was like, "Yeah," and that was my first kind of great amount of money at that age, which was phenomenal for me. And so just taking that profit, that was also the rise of Gymshark, by the way. Gymshark plays a huge role in this because, that was around the time of 2017-ish, 2016, 2017, when there was this huge rise of the fitness brand Gymshark, which is it is one of the most popular fitness brands out there for us as like gym junkies, basically. And everybody kind of wanted to become a Gymshark athlete. They built this like very solid community of just Gymshark influencers slash athletes, and everybody, it seemed like at that time, was getting sponsored by them. And I never had that. I was like, what the hell is wrong? Like, why aren't they reaching out to me, et cetera, et cetera? Like, I wanted to be a part of it too. And so nothing ever happened in that aspect. So I was just like, there was two things I kind of went on in that moment, as far as I remember. The first one is like, screw them. Like, I'm just going to start my own fitness apparel brand. And the second thing is I just wanted to own something that was like for me, that I could customize. Like if I wanted to make and design leggings, and I have the complete responsibility to do so, the complete freedom to do so, sorry. Like I could design things any way that I want. And that's just what drew me to entrepreneurship, I guess. It's being able to like build something that belongs to you. Like you're not, there's no middleman. There's no like you have to report to somebody about like certain designs that you want to make. It's like you just get it done. So I took the profit that I made from those workout guides and basically spent it on Nasty Fit.
So when you were talking about, I wanted to take control of creating my own products, my own leggings, what was the what was the problem that you were really identifying as, you know what, if I take control back, I can be the one to solve this or create my own apparel?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There was not, if I'm being just completely honest, there was not a greater why when I was starting Nasty Fit. I wasn't like planning on solving anything. This was more just like a personal thing that I just wanted to start. Compared to like Connectful or Corecircle, it's like kind of, it's definitely different. Like my past startup, Connectful, the one before Corecircle, that one was to solve a void in my problem from not having any like-minded uh Gen Z like entrepreneurs my age. So like that came from a problem, but Nasty Fit was just more so of like, I want to start something that belongs to me and let's freaking do it. So that's kind of it. But I learned a lot from it for sure.
Yeah. So what I find interesting about your story is, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, there's trial and error, right? Like I'll start a company, I'll fail, I'll start another company, and fail, or I succeed, but I go on to bigger and greater things and I started, you know, another awesome company. But with you, with Nasty Fit, you started at 18. And then now it's a 7-figure fitness apparel brand, and your company Instagram page has over 100,000 followers. So even though you're kind of mentioning that you don't have to do as much and you're not as involved and you've moved on to another app, it's still incredible the growth and the consistency that you've had the past few years. So from 18 to 21, I mean, you know, frankly speaking, that's relatively young to be starting a company. How'd you navigate the emotions and pressure that might come with the scaling part of your company? Was it like a certain mentality, an extreme level of discipline? How'd you handle that part of growing a company that, you know, many Gen Z entrepreneurs still aren't in?
Yeah. The first year was definitely off slash different. Like for example, I didn't even have a apparel designer. It was just kind of me talking to my manufacturer and saying like, hey, this is what I want. So there was nothing actually in the first couple of months since starting Nastassia. There was nothing unique about what we were selling until I got an apparel designer, because I'm not like creative with drawing or sketching things out, but I'm better more so like have better creativity in the mind. It just needs somebody to like, okay, put it on paper. Um, and that part was hard. And so I remember seeing just like a couple of other fitness influencers who created their own brands. And I was like, wow, you know, they have like really cool products and all this. So I feel like that kind of like inspired me to like push harder with Nasty Fit. So I started doing so and saw great results. Like our contour collection, for example, is one of our most popular ones, and it did really well. But I would say it's more so of like you just don't know what you're doing, right? If your family isn't connected in like the tech space or like weren't entrepreneurs themselves, it's like you literally just have to learn from your own you just have to do and learn basically. And that's what I've been doing with Nasty Fit. Connectful was a huge learning process. It was my first tech startup. And I applied basically all of the mistakes I've made there into Corecircle. But you know, there's also that like just kind of you're a noob at what you're doing and you don't know what you're doing sometimes, and there are so many ways that you could be doing it better, but you just don't know, right? So you just have to learn from trying, and that's one of the greatest things about being young. You have a lot of time to like fail and do stupid stuff, basically. So there's that. And then the second hardest thing was definitely like when I was 18, 19, I struggled a lot with being lonely because I didn't have those friends, like-minded entrepreneurial friends in my life. And so yeah, that part was difficult because it's like you're at Barnes and Noble constantly just alone working on your stuff. Nobody relates to you. I've learned to deal with that really well. I might have probably like adapted to that. But I definitely have more people in my life, of course, especially now I'm on the tech Twitter side of things, so it's a little different. But yeah, when I was starting off, it was definitely a little bit difficult in that space with being lonely and not having people who understand.
Going on these journeys, learning, failing, iterating, pivoting, all this type of stuff, there's a lot of like following gut, following your trust, being confident in your own decision making. And you said, did I hear you right? You dropped out of college?
I dropped out of college within 2 days of going there.
Within
Yeah.
2 days and going. Okay, so
Yes. Yeah.
break that down for us. Like, what was
Cool.
the decision making process? And I mean, clearly you had to follow your gut to do something that was clearly not as traditional of a path.
Yeah, so the gut feeling was definitely there from the moment I stepped into that stepped into that college. Um, well, I had no like, even when it was summertime and I was like trying to find the credits and the things that I want to do. I don't know what it's called. Like I was not long enough into that process to really know all the terminology. But yeah, like stepping foot into college, it just felt like high school all over again. Like it was not something that was interesting to me. And another thing was that I was going there to study entrepreneurship when I had my first business at that time. And at that time, I was like packaging and shipping out all the orders by myself. So like that had to be done. And college obviously took up hours of my day from those 2 days that I went. Um, but yeah, I just felt like college all over again. Sorry, high school all over again. Like I didn't want to do it. It was boring. It was just not for me. Like not something that had any interest to me at all. Like sitting in a classroom and like that type of just
So
no. I want to be free.
yeah, did you leave to continue pursuing Nastifit?
Yes, but it was actually a little bit of a funny story. So I'll tell you it. I was driving to school. I think this was like the third day, and I forgot what class I was going to, but basically, I was like, I'm really, really hungry. And I was in that phase of my life where I ordered like Indian food every single day, like the samosas and like the chicken tandoori, I think it's called, or tandoori chicken. But yeah, so I was like getting really hungry. I was like, oh, I really want Indian food right now. Like I'd so rather have that than go to school, than go to class. So literally like halfway there, I was almost at the school and I was like, you know what, screw this, it's just not worth my time. And so then I went back to the Indian restaurant I go to, and that's the rest is history. I never went back there again. So it was because of my cravings.
That is hilarious. Well, I gotta say,
I know.
Indian food is one of my favorites, so I'm glad it pulled you over to the dark side.
Those samosas are worth skipping college for.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you started NASFIT, you went to college for about 48 hours, you realized you got to drop out, you left, and now you have created Corecircle. So Corecircle is a social fitness app where people can create and find workouts, they can document their progress, and they can build friendships centered around fitness. And in the App Store description, it says, seriously, drop the Notes app. And that made me laugh because all throughout quarantine, I've been working out at home using my Notes app. So I
Notes app.
appreciate that.
I know. Trust me. I know. I know what y'all use.
Yeah. So, okay. So run us down, what is Corecircle? How does it work? And what is the community you built with your users?
Yeah, so good question. So basically it's a social fitness app, right, where you document your fitness journey. There is not one successful social fitness app for us like weightlifters out there out in the market. I mean, most fitness apps that are utility only. So it's like literally you just like do workouts and then that's it. There's no social element to it. And the only apps that have those social elements is either like a forum where there are anonymous people, or it's just like that little like invite your friends button and like nobody uses it, right? So that kind of social experience for those apps is just like an afterthought, right? And fitness is something that is so inherently social. Like we talk about it, we post about it on social media. Sometimes we even go to the gym with our friends, but there's not one, like I said, successful fitness app that really recreates that experience. And yeah, on top of that, most people use the Notes app to track their workouts, to log their workouts, and which I used to do as well when I used to do it. And it was super disorganized and just you never look back at it, or at least I never did, and many of the other people that I know use the Notes app never did as well. Like you just kind of put down 3 sets of 6 of this exercise and never revisit it again. So obviously a lot of like wasted time. I mean, a lot of like time that you could have spent kind of maximizing on those gains just kind of goes away because you're not tracking what you're doing. And that's super, super important to progress at the gym, to progress with your lifts or whatever you're doing. So what were your other questions? I
So yeah,
told you
so
about
what's the functionality of it? Am I competing with others? Is it like gamified?
Yes. Yes, yeah, good question. So basically, our main feature, we have 2 main features. The first one is you create your own workout in the app. So it's very simple. Our UI is extremely minimalistic, so it's not cluttered with features. It's very much so simple to use. You input your sets and reps, etc., what you're doing, and then all workouts that you create, you post, right? So those workouts are then posted on the home screen for your friends and followers to see. So If you like check out the home screen, it's full of people's workouts. Your friends are on there if you follow them. It'll say something like Nastassia completed the lower body day workout. You could click on that workout and you could see exactly what I did. You could also save it for later. And if you decide to do my workout later, it'll give me credibility for it. So it's like a beautiful marriage between utility and social. Like you create and post your workout, and then you have a social element where people give you fist bumps and comment on it saying like, great job, you did so well, or like cute fitness outfit, etc. So that was the premise of the app. And we've just been building upon that. Like when we launched to beta, we didn't even have the ability to post pictures and videos. It was just that concept of you create your workout and you post it, people see it on the home screen. That's kind of it. So we've just been literally building upon that because it worked. And right now we're working on a communities page. So community page, which is basically like a forum. So we have a couple of Instagram group chats with our power users, and people like always ask questions in there, whether related to like protein intake, calorie intake, like, or sometimes people tell stories about like what happened at the gym and some creepy dude came up to them and like all the girls are like, oh, I experienced this too, like this sucks, etc. And so those kind of conversations that aren't being held in the app right now, because in the home screen, you just see people's workouts basically, right? And so our goal over these next couple of weeks is just to like transfer those conversations that are being held on Instagram into Corecircle. And I'm super excited for that because fitness, there's so many things to talk about. Like the ones that I mentioned, mental health goes into it, like diet and nutrition, health and wellness, all of that type of stuff. And the current communities that are already out there, like Reddit, for example, bodybuilding.com forums, those are primarily dominated by like millennial men. And it's like, it's not a safe zone for like, you know, younger women to be in, because I was actually talking to my founder friend a couple of days ago. She went to bodybuilding.com. Have you ever been on that forum, by the way? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And so she was just trying to find something about like macros, something about macro intake, and then she stumbled upon a thread where like some dudes were talking about a fitness model's feet. So it's like, you know, it's not the right place, right? And it doesn't make women feel comfortable sharing. And obviously with the rise of Gymshark, there's been so many female fitness enthusiasts, and so like having a place where they feel safe enough to post their questions, to engage in discussions, etc., is super needed. I'm so excited for that feature. I think it's going to 10x our app.
That's incredible. Well, I know y'all just launched, right? So congratulations on that. That's incredible. I'm sure post-launch has been a crazy life.
Yes. Yeah, it has. Yeah, we just launched last Tuesday. So on the 21st.
Congrats. Oh, wow.
Yeah, thank you. So it has been really crazy, but crazy in a good way, of course. It's like finally we launched. We were in beta for 5 months and did a lot of work then, and a lot of like finding out who our users are, who are our power users, and what they're doing in the app, and listening to their feedback, of course, and just making things overall better. So like that's literally what we're doing. I mean, that's what every founder should be doing, making their product constantly better and try to do that as fast as possible.
But I want to move on to social media and how you leverage social media to grow your business. So I'm about to read some numbers in terms of your following, and yeah, they're like, you know, obviously generally very impressive, but I think it's also just relevant when it comes to discussing, you know, the business advantages and how you've been able to leverage it.
For sure.
So you have over 500,000 followers on your personal Instagram. The Nasty Fit Instagram page has over 100,000 followers. Your Corecircle Instagram page, which again, you just launched very recently, has over 6,000 followers. And your personal TikTok has, which by the way, I went on your TikTok and I genuinely laughed at some of your videos. They were hilarious.
Thank you.
But your TikTok has 130,000 followers. So clearly you've been very successful using social media. When did you start discovering the power of social media to grow your brand? And are there different strategies when it comes to like TikTok versus Instagram versus some other platform?
Yeah, so it's funny because like my social media journey started with YouTube, and that was the one that you haven't mentioned. That's the one like I just stopped using. That one has 700K plus. So that's like
where man, I missed it.
you missed the big one. No, but like that's where it all started, and that's how I was just vlogging. I mean, I started, I think, gaining a lot of followers then when I was like 16, junior year of high school. And So that kind of is its own platform, right? You obviously could post longer content. That's what I was doing. It was more of like taking you through my day or taking you through my gym and all that. So that's how I built my core following. And a lot of those folks were into fitness as well, which then naturally obviously transferred into Instagram. When I was like 17, 18, that's when my Instagram started growing as well. But yeah, I'm thankful because most of the followers that I do have, they came from that fitness aspect. So those were our first kind of users on Corecircle. And of course, I did some TikTok posts as well to get newer people who did not know about me into Corecircle to try out our beta. Um, but um, in terms of different types of platforms, yeah, they are very much different. Like Instagram, for example, I feel like a lot of people are hating on it because it's such like a perfect place, and people are kind of like getting tired of looking perfect and all that stuff. So there's that. I mean, Instagram as well is a very saturated market. You most likely, like, if you start out trying to build a following now, it's going to be so much different compared to like when I started a couple of years ago. YouTube, I think, is essentially the same. It's just harder to build a following now. TikTok, because of its algorithm, where it's like anybody could kind of, not anybody, but you have a higher chance of becoming like an overnight success or a success within like the next couple of weeks or a month or two or whatever, has a higher chance there because of their algorithm. And let's see what other, it's just mainly like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, right? Are the main three. Am I missing another
No,
one?
I would think, and I don't know if you're, big on Twitter, or if you're
Yeah,
into
Twitter is kind of like the same. It depends actually. Twitter is in its own like niche. So like there's like tech Twitter, there's other types of Twitters out there. I don't know about growth on there. I haven't experimented too much, but all I know is that like the posts that typically do well are like, I went from X to Y, here's a thread, or like I did this, here's a thread, or like those kind of quick bits of information of advice, they usually pop off on Twitter, and get the most likes is what I've noticed. But yeah, I'd recommend anybody to use TikTok, honestly. Like we've had, I think, 2 or 3 videos that did really, really well, like over hundreds of thousands of views, and that got us to like a huge wait list. Those were those users who found that video from like June when it popped off are still some of our power users to this day on Corecircle. So love posting on TikTok. It's definitely a platform that I utilize on a daily because I'm trying to grow. So there's that. Instagram, yeah, not so much. YouTube, I just completely stopped.
Well, I appreciate your time, and I want to wrap up with one more question. And this is perfect segue. You talking about how hard it's been, and all the things that you've learned on the way. So, what advice would you have for a high school student that might be 17 or 18, or a college student who lasted more than 48 hours and is in school? What would you say to those types of people who are fearful of taking that first step of actually going from I have an idea to I want to create? And what do you say to someone who's really fearful of starting something and constantly navigating through uncertainty versus having like job stability?
Mm-hmm. Well, the number one thing about fear, like I can't give any surface level kind of piece of advice here. The thing about fear is that there's a why for why it exists. And I think in order to like actually solve the problems that anybody has in their lives, then there needs to be like a why. Like, why do you even have this fear in the first place? And typically the underlying reason for that is like, okay, a certain type of like fear of judgment, like fear of failure, all those sorts of things, like fear of getting out of your comfort zone, for example, fear of like learning something new, even because there's like this understanding that you're getting better and maybe you don't like want to, or you just are scared to. So like that would be my number one advice, is just to like assess, where is this fear coming from in the first place? Like, why do I have this? And it should come from a place of like observation, not logical thinking of like, where did this come from, but just like truly feeling, why am I going through this right now? Why am I feeling the things that I feel? And assessing kind of like, okay, the answer to that, like once you get to the root cause of your fear, then things become easier, kind of like just goes away. This is something that I've noticed too, like even when I get nervous about something or anxious about something, which doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's like I don't want to feel this. Like, and I'm not going to like overwork myself to like get rid of this feeling because that's not going to work. I'm not going to go to the gym and try to get rid of this feeling because the feeling is always going to come back, right? The feeling of anxiety of whatever you're going through is always going to be there until the root cause is figured out. So that's what I would recommend. And a lot of people will make the excuse of it's risky, right? That's just kind of like something to say to cover up the actual fear that somebody's going through. So that's my number one advice, honestly. It's like, why? It's to ask yourself that. And many people don't because it requires a lot of like time to not think, but just to observe and be quiet, which most people don't do. I mean, even sometimes for me, it's hard to do that too, because my brain was like, why are you taking the time to do this? You should be working on your startup. So it's like, it's it's a challenge as well, but it's life changing. And also like, I mean, come on, being young and like wanting to start something, there's no better time to do it because you don't have any responsibilities to like, you don't have a family to raise, right? You don't have kids to provide for. So it's like, it's just kind of you. Like you always have something to fall back on, like getting a job anywhere, whether it be like Chipotle or whatever, like money could always be made, right? But yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. But it also has to do with like DNA as well. If you are ambitious in the first place, there's less likely of a chance of you even being scared or having those risks. You're just gonna do it, right? Like, I don't know. That's my personal thought on that.
Yeah, I think that's a very cool answer. I personally like can resonate with that answer. My dad told me always growing up that, you know, lots of people talk about your IQ, your EQ, then like there's always a new word, right? Like it was grit, and whatever. But he always stuck with self-awareness. That's the foundation to
Yeah.
to what you're gonna do and to, you know, figure out who you are and figure out your fears and why you don't want to take risk. And I heard a great quote that I forgot who said it, but he said, in today's world, it's riskier to not take risk than to take risk. So
it's riskier to not take risk than to take risk.
yeah.
Do you know why he said that?
Because what he was talking about was how a lot of the times when we don't want to take risk is because we're giving into our fear versus leveraging all of the possibility and opportunity that we live with today.
Yeah, that's true. There's so much opportunity. Like if you're worried about risk, like or just not failing, but like just how hard it may potentially be or whatever, then like, oh my God, like it's never been easier than it is today to be an entrepreneur. So it's like,
yeah, you know, I'm laughing at this whole no code stuff. I'm like, the smart people made no code for dummies like me, and now anything's possible.
literally. I would be more worried, like if that was going through my head, I don't know. I'd be more so of like, do I even become an entrepreneur? Because like it's just there's a different DNA that entrepreneurs have, to be quite honest. It's like, you know, you just chase after things, right? No matter how you may feel about them. That's like the truth of it. So but yeah, start that business.
Well,
I hate giving surface level advice. Like I take that back. But anyway, yes, self-awareness is super important.
Yeah, no, well,
very important for anything.
I very much appreciate that advice. I appreciate your time. And what you're doing is absolutely incredible. The growth that you've had, the way you've used social media, you know, the energy, the vibe that you bring, like it was such a great conversation. I'm so glad that we got to connect today. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm looking forward to everything that you do. And I'm about to download this Corecircle app, so I no longer have to use the Notes app.
I was about to say, like right after that kind of outro, like, yo, you better like stop using the Notes app and try out Corecircle. Like, I'd love to know your thoughts about it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And then everyone tuning in, thank y'all so much for joining us on this week's episode of the show. You know, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow,
survive.
Yeah, survive, also survive. But yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We will catch y'all next week. Thank y'all. Awesome.
Thank you.